Hello guys, welcome to my first short tutorial in Unity. I want to try to make a few tutorials like 8 or 10 minutes time so people can learn and they don't need to stay in front of the computer and watching tutorials like for hours. I just want to try to keep this short. And yeah, today we're going to learn about a functionality that already exists on Unity. It's called effector, which is a functionality into the physics in Unity 2D, and we want to create the same functionality in a simple way, because sometimes we don't need to use all of the functionality that Unity provide for us. So for example, if you add a platform effector 2D and we have a box collider on the platform, we have to tick used by effector. So now there's an arc over here, and there's other functionalities that could be for other videos or something. What we actually want to use from here is this use one way, so which basically is this. We can walk through now, and when you jump, sorry, my jump is buggy, and we are on the platform again. So we want to achieve this, but we want to achieve this in a simple way, simple manner. So yeah, let's delete this, remove and uncheck this. All right, so firstly, let's create a child inside of the platform. Let's call this surface. 0, that's fine. I just created a script here already called platform on way, but there's nothing on it. So make sure, guys, when you create your class, it's just capital, first letter capital always, and subsequences as well. So we have, if you have other word, just capital as well. So it's a good practice if you are a programmer or if you're starting into programming. Make sure you do good practice. Yeah, so let's draw so it's easier when you want to code something, especially when it's something complex. So for example, we have our platform here. My drawing skill is horrible, sorry about that. And we're gonna have a collider, but when we start the game, the collider is not gonna be there. The collider is gonna be disabled, and we have our player, right? And for example, the surface we just created is here. You can place wherever you want, but should be here. Then we want to check if the player base on Y is greater than surface on Y. If that's true, that means the player jump over, and then we enable the collider. Then the player will be able to stand on the platform. All right, so now let's jump into the code and let's see what happens. So we're gonna need two transforms, surface and base player. Player base is better. Okay, so we can use a float. Let's call this Y position. Okay. We don't need to initialize now because we're gonna initialize later. So what I do usually, I create a function to initialize my variables. So initialize variables, and I use a wake method. A wake method comes first then start, then update, and so on and so forth. So we want to say that y position is equals to player base dot position dot y. Okay. Oh, sorry. Actually, this is an update. This is an update because we need to pass the player base to this variable here, and initialization. We need a base player base. I don't know when. We need to find the game object, which we can use the player, right? Make sure you say transform, because we just care about the transform here. So for example, we're doing this. Let's attach the script first, right? Let's save it. So yeah, we have the surface. We don't need to attach the player because we are doing this already here. It's doing for us. So he's finding the game object called player and attach automatically here, getting the transform for us. So let's call this on update. Okay. And we need a collider, a 2D collider. Private collider 2D call. That's fine. Let's call like this. We need to initialize this as well. We need to get the box collider component. So call is equals to get component box collider 2D. Make sure you say 2D. Okay, so we're now getting the box collider component on the start. Why I call this on update is on awake. Yeah, all right. Now we're gonna have the logic on update. So on update, we're gonna have if statements for the logic. So for example, let's debug this first. Let's debug this out. Y position. Let's debug this first. Let's see if everything's working. So I'm just gonna uncheck this so we can see the inspector. I'll hit play, and yeah, okay, he got the player automatically, as I said, because I'm calling this method on awake, and this method is finding the player game object called player, and it's getting transformed because we just care about the transform here, and it's getting the collider as well, I'm sure. So we're tracking down the Y position now. Okay, wherever you go, we're tracking. So that's going to be useful for us. Okay, so yeah, everything worked. Let's go back to the code. Now we know this is working. We don't need this anymore. Okay, let's make an if statement. Sorry. So as I said in the drawing, in the paint, if Y position is greater than the surface, so the surface dot position dot Y, we're gonna enable the collider. Collider enable equals to true. So guys, I know you guys usually do like this for if statement, right? So I think that's personal, or when I just have one line, is gonna work for one line. If you have just one line, when you're checking and you have one line, if it's true, it's gonna read the line. So we don't need this. You can leave like that, that's fine. The code gets cleaner. And else, we can we can do the logic here in one line. Okay, so if the y position is greater than surface position dot y, okay, we enable the collider. Otherwise, we disable. So we just say call enable equals false, and that's it. We don't need to create like a huge block of if statement because it's so simple, the logic. So it's just simple. We don't need that. Okay. We can achieve the same results with collider or index layer or whatever. That's my approach. I think it's simple and it's not really fancy, I know, but it's simple. It works. You guys can have a simple 2D game. It doesn't cost too much. Okay. I'll make this private now because I don't need this on expector anymore. Oh, just for debugging purpose. So let's jump back into Unity and hit play. And now, okay, you see the box collider is false, right? Because we're initializing and by default is false. So, all right, then we can go through as we went through before with the Unity functionality. And now when you press jump, the collider is there. So you see, we are achieving the same thing in a simpler way. So, and you can make this platform as a prefab, and you can reuse it as many times as you want. Like just copy and paste, and then you can reuse it like in your whole game, in your whole scenario. It's gonna work. See, working. No, working. We could be using like raycast and raycasting in the surface, or like shooting down a raycast, you know, on the y-axis downwards. There's so many ways to do it, but for today, we're gonna keep like this. All right. Now let's go back to the code and see if you can clean the code. Always make sure, guys, to comment out the code. All right. That's a good approach. If you comment out and you give someone else, if you give someone else your code, they will be able to read it, the comments, and understand instead of just going through the code over and over. It's easier just to have like a simple comment. Like for example, Unity has used this for initialization. Update is called once per frame, and etc. So we didn't use this. You can delete it. We make it cleaner. Okay. Yeah, if you had like a bunch of variables, we can just use region private variables and region. Now we can just minimize this. You see, if you have a bunch of public, same thing, and it's cleaner. Okay guys, thank you very much. See you next time.